Hi everyone! Today on Music with Mrs. Brooks, we're going to learn how to read rhythms level 8, loose eighth notes. Loose eighth notes. Say that 20 times fast. And basically the concept's actually super simple. This is an eighth note by itself. This is an eighth note by itself. For whatever reason, someone got the idea that when you have two loose eighth notes beside each other, you just take their arms and just connect them. So two eighth notes are always written with a bar across the top. Just, like these lonely people, what do when you're two friends and you're lonely? You give each other a hug and you become connected. So really, all our other rhythm rules that we've learned up to date apply. We're just going to take this new thing. So this rhythm at first glance, you're like, I don't know, but that's a ta-ta. Well, again, step one, we kind of think of it, okay, two eighth notes tied together with a friend hug, it's just a TT. And so we know how to count this. So we learned how to count rhythms in our last video, and we said step one, find the beats. So beat 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So here's beat 1, beat 2, and this takes up 2 beats. Beats 3, 4. And what I like to do when I have the longer notes, when they're connected, is I like to draw a line under them. So I know that those beats are kind of tied together in sound. And when we were doing the rhythm tree in level 7, we talked about how 1 and 2 and 3 and the halfway of the beat was called an and. So if I counted this with a new counting system we learned before, I would call this rhythm 1 and 2, 3, 4. If I were to go back and do it my old school way, I would call it T, T, ta, ta. And so I wrote it out here. So have a look. So again, new concept. Loose eighths, when you got two of them, they just give each other a hug and hold each other together. But otherwise, they're the same. So these loose guys, same as this. So we've got T, T, ta, ta. Easy. We're talking level 1, level 2 stuff. Throw in the counting. 1 and 2, 3, 4. And again, I just drew an underline because this lasts for 2 beats, and it shows me that on beat 4, there is no new sound. Let's try another one. So this one, at first glance, we've got a ta, ta, ta. So even if we don't know everything, we could go back and we could say with our old school method, we've got ta, something, ta, ta, right? So we're already kind of halfway there. There's just a little bit we don't know. So we learn our new thing. Okay. 2 eighth notes that look like that are really just this. So you don't have to actually write it in, but just visually so you can see, I'm going to remind us that this is just a TT. And so if I were to count this, I would write it in my old school Kadai way as ta, ti, ti, ta, 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 ti, ti, ta, ta. And if I were to write it in my new way with numbers, we always count the beats. Beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4. And because that's just a TT, we know it takes up a whole beat. And so, what do we do for the and? For the and, we do it with an and. And so 1, 2, and 3, 4. So here we have ta, T, T, ta, ta, 1, 2, and 3, 4. So let's try it with another one. So here we have something, and again, we got things we know and things that are kind of scary. Always when you're counting rhythms and any kind of music or school, start with what you know. So we got some pretty simple things here. We've got a ta, we've got a ta, we've got a ta. We know that. That's easy. So what's that thing? Well, that's our new concept. When we got 2 loose eighths, it's really just that thing that we already know, and it's just a TT. And so I'm going to write in the bar so it looks familiar, and then you're going to say, oh yeah, It's just two loose eights. That's just friends that need a hug. That's a TT. We know this. So ta, ta, TT, ta. How do we count it? Well, we always start beat 1 on the left, and every beat gets a number. Beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4. Always numbers on the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what do we do for the second half of the TT? That's an and. So suddenly, this new scary thing is not hard at all. We've got ta, ta, ti, ti, ta. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Not scary. All right, this one looks terrifying. It's just a sea of things that we don't know. But again, there is one thing at the very end that's easy. We know that that's a ta. And then we think, okay, what are loose eights? Well, loose eights are just, eighth notes without friends. So we start grouping them and giving them some friends. And so I'm going to take my eighth notes that were just hanging out by themselves and give them all a friend. This isn't so scary anymore. Now we've got T, 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 ta. So that's something that we can do. And we know that a TT is one beat. So we've got T, 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 ta. So we'd have beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4. And again, it looks kind of scary, but just if you remember that numbers are always to the left of the beat, it'll start to work out. So numbers are always on the left. So we got beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4. And then the eighth note on the right always gets the and. So here we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. T, 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 ta. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. T, 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 ta. And so if we start to take these beams away, if I just take my eraser and just erase these beams, you can start just, instead of having to draw in the beams, do it in your head. So you look for the groups. So, T, 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 ta. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Last one. So look for what you know. There's a ta. There's a ta. There's a quarter note rest. What do we know about these? These are the same. So you mark it up. You make friends with the eighth notes. You look for what you know. We've got a ta, we've got a ta, we've got a rest, and now that's a TT. So suddenly you have something that's very similar. Ta, ti, ti, ta. Put it into counting. Well, what beat would a rest be if it's no sound? Well, it isn't actually no sound. Remember, a rest was one beat of silence. So it's going to get a beat number the same way. Ands go on the second half of the beat. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. Ta, ti, ti, ta. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time for level 9.